What's going on, everybody? This is Jabril Salam.
And Muhammad Hassan.
And you will listen to the Young and Muslim Podcast.
Asalaamu Alakum, everybody. Welcome back to the Young and Muslim Podcast Ramadan Series. We hope you enjoyed part 1, where we sat down with Imam Munir Muhammad to discuss the best ways for everyone to properly prepare for Ramadan. Now we are excited to share and move on to part 2.
Now, on this episode of the podcast, we'll be discussing the importance and the meaning of the first 10 days of Ramadan, which includes Allah showering us down with His mercy. Mm-hmm. So if you're ready to get that mercy, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Peace.
Salam.
So now we're talking about how to prepare for Ramadan. Mm-hmm. We're ready.
It's the day before Ramadan now. It's the day before Ramadan now.
Exactly. So the day before Ramadan, we're about to enter the first 10 days. As you mentioned, some people might call it Rahmah, mercy. What should I do? Should I go to Costco and buy everything I can, fill up the fridge? You know what I'm saying? Should I, start figuring out my calendar, saying which iftar is going to be in my house for the month?
Right.
What do we do? Answering the first.
Well, before we go into that, which is a great question. Before we go into that, what is the first 10 days? What is its significance, and why are they all separated into thirds rather than how we do for a month, 4 weeks?
Well,
good question.
Well, the Prophet, and the prayers and peace be upon him, what he was trying to do was to have the community to look at the month with a focus. Seek God's mercy. Do everything you can to seek God's mercy. And in the first 10 days of this process, you do what God said, then you will bear witness that God has given you His mercy. You see, and then go through the next second 10 days, seeking God's forgiveness. You probably will start been giving other people forgiveness, and then you will bear witness that Allah has forgiven me. I didn't have to wait the full 30 days.
So you're just opening up your awareness to the fact that all those things are coming.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the Prophet taught, he said, how can the inhabitants of the earth call on the one who is in heaven and ask for mercy, yet they don't practice amongst themselves? See? So how would you first 10 days of fasting, you doing all this, and you want God's mercy, but you can't be merciful?
You got a good point. The first thing I think about is being in traffic and you just go and slam off at somebody, or we've all been that person. Right. We've been the receiving on the receiving end and the person that gets it, where someone wants to get in and you're like, well, nah, you ain't getting in today.
Right? I got to get to where I'm going to. Nah, it ain't happening today, bro.
Oh man, that's wow. That's eye opening.
Yeah, and then the last 10 days. The language, it says that freedom from the hellfire, the last 10 days.
Yes.
So that means that now you should be free from the discipline, all of what you've done in those 20 days. You should be free from all the appetites and passions that will lead you to the wrong path. And they say the shaitan is chained.
Chained up, yeah.
What does that mean? That means that influence that has nothing, can't touch you because you've under this discipline.
It's all you at this point.
Right. Because you don't stop. You fasting, you doing the month, but you don't stop everybody else from interacting and living. You still experience now.
Yeah.
That's why the Prophet he said, tell them I am fasting. They keep bothering you, I'm fasting. They keep bothering you, I'm fasting. And then say, Ma'asalam, go in peace. Just go in peace. Because if you tell someone who has respect for religion that you're fasting and they still trying to instigate you, you try to reach them on 3 levels, because you asked me about the third, and third. That God evolves us on a physical level, intellectual level, and a spiritual level. So when I tell you I'm fasting, physically, I'm first saying, leave me alone because I don't have to engage you. Right? And then I say the second time, I say it in a different tone. I'm trying to reach you intellectually. And then that third time, I'm telling you, listen, my spiritual victory is important to me.
You messing with my zen, man.
I ain't trying to get this up. I'm working too hard for this. So, my salam, I'll see you, and I'll see you afterwards.
Oh, snap. So right now, going back, so we're at the first 10 days. We're trying to be more merciful. Mm-hmm. What does that even mean? How can we show mercy? Because we hear all the time, mercy, be merciful. How can we be merciful from the ground level? What does that mean? How does that even look?
The simplest thing is to be kind. A person needs a smile. A person is in the hospital sick and have no one to visit them. And you, out of your own kindness of your heart, you just, I'm going to walk through the hospital and I'm going to ask, can I just, say hello to this person? That's the simple thing. The bigger thing is, I know that this homeless shelter, they have no food. I cook a big meal and I take it to them. Mm-hmm. Just exhibit mercy on a small level to the biggest level. The Prophet taught us that just smiling at someone is a mercy.
Mm-hmm. We can do that every day.
Mm-hmm. I don't know about the first 10 days of Ramadan though. So
nah, you don't want to.
And that's why I asked, because I know, especially for me, work and family and podcasts, like the first 10 days, that's why I don't want to be around nobody. Mm-hmm. I'm still trying to get right. I'm still trying to get in the right headspace. But if you do that beforehand, like you mentioned, and going into Ramadan, you already know what the first 10 days is about. You already ahead of the game.
Right.
Right. You're smiling. You're helping out. You make sure that if a big meal is cooked that night, you take the food and don't waste and take it to the homeless shelter or whatever. Right. So coming in and learning, that's what you're doing. You're educating us. We can enter this Ramadan with that whole picture.
And then what you're doing, as you mentioned about the thirds, and see how the Prophet was teaching us great wisdom and practicality. You take 1/3 food, you take 1/3 water, and you take 1/3 air. That's teaching us. Now you're getting health benefits. I'm not gonna overeat because I fasted all day and my bread basket shrinks naturally. Yeah. Yep. So I had to discipline myself. Don't let my eyes be bigger than my stomach, where mom and dad used to say to us, right? Yeah. Then I drink 1/3 water to give my body the nourishment so that I'm not dehydrated, and my organs don't shut down. Right,
because they will shut on you this one.
Exactly. And then I leave 1/3 room for air so that I can breathe when I pray to God.
After you full, you trying to pray to the way you kind of lean in.
Oh man! Have you done it before? We eat so much, you breathing heavy, like man.
I've been looking at my dad like, how much time he got left?
And hopefully he gonna recite something short too, right?
In class, please. Right?
So it's great wisdom from the Prophet, helping us, to exhibit balance, in that whole process.
So going back to the question you asked first, what are some of the necessary, material things that you would need going into not just the first 10 days, but into the month of Ramadan? Like, do you need to get a prayer rug, new Quran? Like,
it's the basics.
Is there anything that you need, or is it just like come as you are?
It's come as you are, but you know your needs better than anyone else. So, like in a facility like this, if you know you're going to be praying, you might want to get a rug because this floor kind of hard and cold. You know? Get a mat and a prayer rug. If you don't have a Quran, you need a Holy Quran. Because you're encouraged by the Prophet to read 1/3 of the Quran every day. So by the end of the month, if it's 30 days, instead of trying to read it all in one day, if you read 1/3 every day, by the end of the month, you have completed the entire Quran.
That's 30 juz, you're right, so 1 juz a day.
Mm-hmm. Well, you don't even have to do, you can do it juz, but if you don't have time to read that much.
Yeah, because juz is long.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So read, like I said, and plus, I encourage the community. I say, start reading early. If you know that that's something that you want to accomplish and you want to experience that accomplishment, but you don't have that time because you have young kids, and you have a job. Mm-hmm. For me, My wife says, "Well, you don't work anyway. You only work 2 days a week."
He's an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So it's like, well, you can read the Quran in Arabic and then go take a nap and then wake up later on that evening and we can read again. You can do that. Everybody can't do that.
Yeah.
I said that's true, but you can do anything that you want to do, and anything you set your mind to it. If you really want to accomplish that and achieve that and see how that feels. I tell my Arabic students, I said, well, you can read the Quran in English all throughout the year. Yeah. But if you want to increase your Arabic studies, when's the best time to do it? The month of Ramadan.
Yeah. So is there really an emphasis on you need to finish it, or should there be more emphasis on concentrating on that specific goal for the Quran?
Well, you have to make that determination yourself. Do I want to complete it? Or do I want to become more familiar with what God is saying?
So the intent again.
Yes. So, and remember, this is not what is called fard. This is not an obligation. Mm-hmm. It's highly recommended by the Prophet. Muslims get that mixed up.
Yeah.
We make a lot of things. We put more burden on ourselves than we need to.
Wow, you just relieved so much pressure on my shoulders.
It's highly encouraged. It's not fard. Your prayers are fard.
Yeah. Because you had mentioned something right now. Burnout is a real thing. Mm-hmm. And I find myself burning out a lot during Ramadan. The first 10 days come around, you had mentioned it's mercy, but you also put some expectations. So I'm trying to do any and everything. So after the first 10 months is like off to the races. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm trying to be the first one at Tadawih prayer, last one, see how long I can go. Even come back for Qiyam prayer sometimes at night, and the next thing you know, I got work. So I'm only legitimately getting 2-3 hours sleep or 4 hours sleep. Yeah, I understand it's the month. You're supposed to kind of go through that. That's like the jihad. But next thing you know, because you spiritually or you just burnt yourself out, on the back end, you're being kind of cranky. And sometimes, my mom, she called me real quick. She look at you making all these prayers, but you see how you treating us? Mm-hmm. I was like, dang.
Help you put it in its proper perspective, right? Are you really benefiting from this, exactly. Right? Because we're not. We don't like this.
And it's an important thing to put because we put so much emphasis on the, like you mentioned, the credentials.
Right.
What did you do during this Ramadan? Wow, like this guy got that book of business. Like he crushed this month. I didn't do nothing. Yeah. So like,
let me help you.
Yes.
Okay.
Teach us.
Tadawih prayer. Yeah. Another highly recommended. It's not you're not less of a Muslim in the month of Ramadan if you don't make Tadawih prayer. Tadawih means to invite the Spirit of God. And if you had invited the Spirit of God throughout the rest of the day, what makes you think he's going to be there at nighttime after you ate?
And you got the itis in the city.
You know what I'm saying? So this is really, really important because for a long time after the Prophet passed, the community didn't offer Tadawih prayer.
Right. Really?
Yeah. There was a long period of time. And it was Umar, may Allah be pleased with him.
Ameen.
Who reinstituted Tadawih prayer because the community was faction. They were going in this direction, that direction, this direction. And he said, you know what? Let's do Tadawih prayer again to bring the community back together. And so he started offering. And before that, the Prophet came out maybe the first or second night, and he saw that the crowds were increasing. And then the third night, he didn't come out. And they were like, what's going on? Send security, check on the Prophet. And he's like, no, I see what you all are doing. You all are making this an obligation, and it's not an obligation.
Care for his people.
And so that's when Tadawih prayer stopped, so that families and family members can experience the great month of Ramadan praying together instead of all trying to go out to the mosque. And so your home doesn't become a place of worship anymore. Your home becomes a mausoleum, and the masjid is the only place you pray.
Interesting.
You see? So it's great history, and the Prophet freed us. He told them, I see what you all are doing. You're making this an obligation. Is it highly recommended? Yes. Should you increase your prayers during the month of Ramadan? Yes. But you should not be overburdened and feel like you're going through a difficulty when God says he didn't give you this so that you can experience difficulty.
Yeah.
He gave you this so that you can experience it and that you can complete the prescribed period. And you shouldn't be completing a prescribed period. Grouchy.
Exactly.
Yeah, you want to be in good high spirits.
Right.
Yeah.
So yes, Torah prayer is very highly recommended, but it's not an obligation. And some people be mad at me saying it, but I'm just giving you the truth. You can do what you want with it.
Yeah.
And then the argument of how long did the prophet stand? Did he offer 8 rakahs? Did he offer 20 rakahs?
That's a good point.
That's interesting that you bring that up, because I've always felt that it's almost counterproductive when you're sitting there. I've been at Tarawih prayer that lasts 2.5 hours, and you see guys' knees buckling. It's like, are you still benefiting from this once you get past the threshold of you can't even physically stand?
Right.
Are we defeating the purpose? Mm-hmm. So what do you feel about that? What's your ruling?
Well, I think that's an overindulgence in ritual. If God tells you to come to this prayer with your mind, unbefogged. It ain't talking about just smokes and get high. That in order to pray before God, you're supposed to be conscious and cognizant. And if you have sleeping in the line, what are you supposed to do? Go take a nap and come back and pray when you are focused.
Yeah.
So if I'm standing in prayer and my back is on fire because I've been standing there for 2 hours, even before I got to 2 hours, as soon as I start feeling that pain and I ain't getting nothing out of this, I'm gonna salam out, and I'm coming back to it later. No disrespect to the leader who's standing in front, but you're supposed to also be considerate to those you are leading. Mm-hmm. And Allah clearly tells us in the Quran about the prophet performing at this. He said, "Lenta alayhim." You hear the word lenient in the word lenta. Lenta alayhim. Tell the prophet, if you had not been lenient on them, most of them would have become harsh-hearted and not followed you. Mm-hmm. So for someone to put that on you, say you have to stand behind them and follow 20 rakats, praying a whole juzah for 2.5 hours when you used to praying for 3 minutes.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So it's like, where's your lenience? Where's your leniency? Where's your consideration? Where's your mercy in this process? Most of the time when I lead the Tarawih prayer or lead the regular prayer, I recite, in the first rakat, I will recite a verse to give people time to get in line and do what they'll get ready.
Right.
And then the second one, I do a short one. And I follow the process. And the people are so grateful that we offer Tarawih prayer in 20 minutes, 15 minutes. Yeah. Rather than an hour, 2 hours. It's not time, for me to show off and show you how much I know, how many chapters I know and what long ones I know and all that stuff, That's not the purpose, To invite the Spirit of God means that you have to also remember that you have to be merciful to the people when you're leading them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's first 10 days.
What about the other side of the coin when people say our prophet, peace and praise be upon him, is the best example that we must follow? And we know that he used to pray the night prayer, the Qiyam prayer, until his feet would bleed. So it will get to the point where when people say, okay, well, you have both sides of the coin. What do you say about that?
Well, balance. We know that the prophet prayed the 11 rakats more often than he did the 20 rakats. And what's the source? Is Aisha radiallahu anha. May Allah be pleased with her. Mm-hmm. She challenged them, the rulers. They came to her for advice, and she said, listen, this is the sharp tongue of a good woman. She said, this person has struggled and sacrificed and fasted all day just like you. And they cook food for you. Why wouldn't you give them their blessing to eat the food and then you pray later? She challenged them. She said, and what was the language she used? She said, if you knew your religion, you would eat and then fast. Then pray. Mm. That was Aisha. That was a sharp tongue, So.
And they were hurting after that.
Yeah. So, there was one of the leading companions that she hit with that.
Yeah.
You know, and there's several other times that she hit them, you know, with heavy things that, you know, they questioned about whether or not the night journey was real or not.
Mm-hmm.
And she hit him again. She said, "Don't you believe that Allah has the power to do anything?" These,
yeah.
This is strong stuff. You know, she
Yeah.
like, I said, "Are you serious?" She said, "Yeah." He was there. I saw him. He was lying there right next to me. But he described everything in heaven that God says in the Quran. So something happened.
Yeah.
And you talked about the growing. The other book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You know where they got that from?
He probably got from the Quran. I mean, Stephen Covey was a Christian. He was a pastor, so.
They got that from the Prophet's Ascension to the heavens.
Oh, no, what?
Please explain.
Yes.
Those,
I love that book.
those 7 habits that he talks about that highly effective people use. The Prophet ascended to the first heaven on this sacred journey, and he met his father Adam. In order for you to be successful in life, you have to embrace and accept who you are. Me and Muhammad talked about this a little before the show began, that you cannot deny your birthright. You are who you are. And a person that loves you or care about you, they should never ask you to drop that. Okay? So I'm helping my brothers and young brothers too when you're looking for a wife, you know.
Everybody listening out like,
You hear, baby, you can't change me.
Yeah, don't say it like that. Say, my birthright, this is me. You do the other one, it's going to be arguments. You know, so he ascended. God was giving us this beautiful picture of how to ascend in life, that you first have to embrace and accept who you are. And so he met Adam, alayhi salam. And when he met him, he said, "Oh, my father, Adam, Asalaamu Alakum," right? Then he goes to the second. He meets John the Baptist and Jesus the Christ. John the Baptist, they say that they crucified him. Why did they crucify him? Because he told them no. He was not going to embrace and accept what they were given, and they wanted him to be under their influence. He said, "No, I'm going to remain under the influence of God." So beheading means that they took his influence away so that he wouldn't influence anybody else to stand up with him.
Little did they know they made a martyr.
Exactly. And so then Jesus the Christ, his cousin, comes. So now you have 2 elements, no and yes. Jesus represents yes because now he comes with the gospel, with the word. He's the word of God. Mm-hmm. Now I can go forward. So how do you be successful in life? You got to learn how to manage what you say yes to, what you say no to, what you allow to influence you and overtake you, and what you lead a principled life where you say no to the most common things that they call you to. That's 3 habits already.
Mm-hmm.
Goodness gracious.
and that's what Ramadan's all about, saying no.
Yeah.
Ramadan's all about saying no.
And then he went to the 3rd level where he met Yusuf. The picture of, that's what Ramadan gives us. The fulfilling the obligation before God and meeting everything that Ramadan gives us, we become that beautiful picture of Yusuf. That despite the trials and tribulations, despite everybody or anyone being against you, you look like you're purified. The picture of purity. Mm-hmm. That's Yusuf. That's I'll say, I'll give you Imam Pasha language. You young cats need to read Yusuf and see yourself in the picture. Not as Yusuf, not as the brothers. Mm-hmm. You see, everybody should be applauding what y'all doing. Mm-hmm. But everyone is not on the same level. So some may despise what you're doing. That's Yusuf's brothers. Mm-hmm. So the gift that God has blessed you to have, it ain't for everybody. You know, so what does his father tell him? He said, don't tell your brothers about that. You tell your brothers about that, you're going to have some problems. I'm using our language.
Yeah.
And so Yusuf had this great gift that he couldn't share with everybody until God brought him full circle. And then when the time came, then he could share the gift and everybody benefit from the gift. That's how you be successful in business. You can't tell everybody what you're doing because somebody will steal your idea and become rich. And then you got to fight them in courts to get your just due. But God is teaching us, you know, not to be deceptive, but to be smart. You know, you got a business plan. You can't tell everybody what your business plan is. See, this is what Ramadan does, because we sit down and we relax. We think.
Yeah.
We ponder. We reflect. We write out a course. Why? Because we're not under any other influence. It's like suspension of time. I'm like, as busy as I am in the month of Ramadan, I'm like, wow, I did all that. And it's before 6 o'clock. You know, so Ramadan invites a change, you know. Well, maybe I'll finish the Ascension later, you know. But that's, you can see the influence of Mr. Covey's book. I know it came from reading the book. I read it several times. I see the Prophet's Ascension in it very clear.
Well, I think you only had 2 more levels to go because look, we don't want our listeners to be like, what?
That's a cliffhanger. Y'all can bring it.
Google, research on your own. If you like to come out and speak to you, book him.
Oh, you're gonna have to book him for the last 2.
And so after he met Yusuf on the 3rd level, he met Prophet Idris on the 4th level, which Idris is from the word darasa, which means to study.
Yeah.
But it also means education, to educate yourself, to build institutions of education. This is how you be successful. When we talked about, in Muhammad, we was talking about these schools that's being built. For what purpose? If they're being built to serve humanity, then we're in line with what God wants. Because the Prophet told us, the most excellent of you are those who serve the human public. So, first revelation came was read. This is how public education came about. You know, so, and then after, you have to, he met Aaron on the 5th level, which Aaron was a worker and there to assist his brother. Let's talk about relations now. You know, Aaron was there to assist his brother, Muhammad and Jibril. And what's that sound you make? You know, so y'all have to be true brothers to each other, and you have to work on each other's behalf, and you encourage each other to be excellent at what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what Aaron was sent to do. You know, to assist, work on behalf of God, despite the people rejecting. And then Moses comes, he meets Moses after Aaron, which he represents the commandments, law. You have to live a life by some rules or regulations. You just can't be unethical. You have to live an ethical life. Most rich people live a life without ethics.
Yes, or morals.
You know, I was reading an editorial on the 30 richest families in America, where the highest one, they're worth $200 and something billion. A family worth over $200 something billion.
You got like 5 people in the joint.
Yeah, and this one gentleman, I won't say names because we using the airways. His family, his business, he built his business from ground up, from scratch.
Wow.
And he's worth $37 billion. Wow. And they complaining about some money that was spent on some advertisement. But if you worth $37 billion, what you spent, that ain't nothing. That's called tax write-off.
Right.
And especially with the different levels that you had mentioned, having everything, that was a beautiful story, because that brings me down to the different things that we kind of learn and go through during the month of Ramadan. Like there's relationships that I've built up during Ramadan that I will never forget. You know what I'm saying? Ever, because we struggled, and Jabril and I always trying to push each other. Like, hey, did you wake up for suhoor? Or like, hey, don't let him get under your skin, but you fast. You know, I'm like, and give him the positive cheek. So all those different things that you had mentioned are things that we do. Thanks for listening to part 2 of the Young and Muslim podcast Ramadan series. Join us in the next episode where we will be discussing the importance of this second 10 days, inshallah.
If you benefit from this episode in any way, be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us on all your favorite social media platforms. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Young and Muslim. That's YOUNG, the letter N, Muslim, Young and Muslim. And you can watch these two beautiful faces on YouTube if you search the Young and Muslim podcast. Be sure to subscribe. But Muhammad, how can they listen to us?
They can listen to us on all of the major listening platforms such as SoundCloud.
Oh, yeah.
Spotify.
There too.
Apple Podcasts.
Get your headphones.
And Google Play.
And go listen.
Let's go.
So, with that, I'm Jabril Salam.
And I'm Muhammad Hassan.
And we leave it with the greens of peace.
Asalaamu
Alakum.
Peace.